a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón.
Well, how y'all doing? This here episode is about me taking a young man home who had been here in the United States for 12 years. Hadn't seen his mom, hadn't seen his aunts, hadn't seen his brothers and sisters, hadn't seen anybody of his family, with the exception of a couple of uncles that were here. He came here when he was 15 years old and stayed with his uncles, rented a room from them, helped pay the rent, whatever. And he send money home to his mother every month or every week, every how often he got paid. And he was here 12 years. He was 27 years old and hadn't seen his mama in 12 years. Well, a buddy of mine says, "Bob, would you drive this young man home?" I told him you knew the roads. And I said, yeah. So the boy said, "Well, what do you charge me?" I said, "Man, that's a lot of driving." I said, "I'll do it for $500 plus my way back home, whether it be bus or airplane." But an airplane was about as cheap as a bus, so I told him, I said, I will do it for $500 and my plane ticket back home. I said, okay. Well, I come home, got on Google, and started zooming in on all the turns I would have to make. And I'd print off little close-up versions of the map. You know, I had the atlas. But when my son and I drove down there, when my wife and I drove down there, sometimes I'd get off on a wrong road. I'd still end up where I planned to be, but it was by a different road. And I didn't want to do that no more. I wanted to be more direct. Yeah. So anyway, time comes that we're supposed to go. I said, all right, I want to leave early in the morning. He said, okay. So, of course, they had a party for him the night before, saying goodbye to him. So I ain't gonna tell him when that ended, maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the freaking morning. So needless to say, his truck wasn't packed when I got up at like 7 o'clock in the morning. And I go over to see him, and hell, he ain't got his truck packed yet. I said, what the hell is this? So along about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he's finally packed, ready to go. So he drives over here to my house, and he says, we got to stop at a restaurant. I said, okay. So we stopped at the restaurant, and the manager there of the restaurant that this boy had worked at for all these 12 years, he wouldn't let us go until he fed us, made sure we had a good meal in us. So, all right. So about 4:30, we're getting ready to start off on this 30-something hour trip. Whew. And I done been up all day. I couldn't nap. My God, I was going to Mexico. Shit. And so here we go. One of them little mid-sized pickup trucks. Ain't even a full-size truck. And we be bopping on down, and he had bought some of them Monster drinks, some of them energy drinks, and I'd never had Monster, but I was getting kind of tired. He said, here, have one of these. Oh my God. It kicked me in the rear end and said, let's go, double down, let's go, kick it, go, move it. Holy cow. And Monster, it worked on me for I don't know how many hours, and this time drinking nothing. Anyway, I drove all night long, wasn't even tired. So we get down to, I think it was around Austin, somewhere around Austin, Texas. And I told the boy, I said, I've got to pull in here for a few minutes, rest my eyes. And I probably dozed for 40 minutes maybe, and then it was back out on the interstate, head to Laredo. It was down there at Laredo, is where we was going to cross the border, where he was going to do what's called Nacionalización de Autos. And basically what that means is, because that truck was not built in Mexico, then you were going to have to pay an import tax to bring this vehicle into Mexico. One thing about Mexico now, by God, if they manufacture it, they don't want you bringing it in. They want you buying theirs, and I think that makes good sense. And that's the way it ought to be here. If we manufacture it here, but you're a company from outside the United States and you want to bring your product into us, then by God, you ought to pay a damn hefty tax on it. You know, that's just my little politics for the moment. But anyway, Mexico, I saw a sign that says, no used tires, no used toilet fixtures, no. I'm going, what? I said, who's going to bring a used commode to Mexico? But they manufacture them in Mexico, so they don't want none of them brought in, knocking them out of a sale. Okay, each their own. Anyway, because he's going to bring the truck in, he had to nationalize it. And what that means again is pay the import tax and pay the title fees and all that, register it as a Mexican vehicle. And it takes several hours for this process. Now, a feller might could slip somebody an extra $50 here or there and probably speed this process right up to about 30 minutes. But I was just stubborn, set in my ways, and I'd be damned if I was going to do it. Besides that, I wasn't in no hurry. I'd just kick back, find me a soft drink somewhere, and have me a taco, and relax in the nice shade of the tree down there, and just wait. Well, when we finally got everything took care of, this boy, bless his heart, he was so scared. He was so scared. He was scared of the cartel. Scared because all he'd heard about was, you know, gangs and the cartels and people getting murdered and shot and killed and cut and stabbed and raped and kidnapped and all that kind of stuff. Because that's what the media talked about. The thing is, yeah, there's crime there. There's also crime here in Nashville, Tennessee. And I'm going to tell you what, there's places in Nashville, Tennessee, I don't go after dark. And, you know, there's places in Chattanooga, Tennessee, I don't go after dark. And Memphis, hell, I don't even like to go to Memphis in the daytime. But the truth is, you know, there's certain areas of any big major metropolitan area. I mean, my God, look at Chicago. And this kid's worried about driving to Mexico. Well, I told you about the no-tell motels. Well, on the very south side of Nuevo Laredo is one of them no-tell motels. Laredo, or Nuevo Laredo, New Laredo, is in Mexico. That's the city across the Rio Grande from Laredo. It has like a bypass, like a loop that goes around the city. And on the south side of that loop is this motel. And I told him, I says, we ain't going no damn where till we get some sleep. I said, because it's 12 hours from here to your mother's house, 12 hours. So we're going to get our sleep, and then we'll get up in the morning and we'll go, and in 12 hours we'll be at your mama's house. Do it all in the daylight. It's okay. So we go in, we get a room, and bless his heart, he's scared to death. The sun's starting to go down. And like I said, we pulled this truck in a carport, let down the electric garage door. There can't nobody get in. There's one window that lets you see out, and then you got that thing that turns, that pipe in the wall that turns, where you can order you something to eat and pay for it and pass it through and all that. But nobody can ever see you. And I got to bed and he got the couch. Hell, he's young, he can sleep on the couch. Turns on the TV from Monterrey, Mexico, and they're talking about somebody got shot last night. He said, see what I was talking about? Look at that. Somebody done got shot over drugs. I said, yeah. I said, Monterey, that's not here. And that was last night, and we're not driving at night. Oh, I felt so sorry for the kid. He was scared to death. And there was no way he could drive home. He didn't know the roads. He didn't know where we were. He couldn't read a map. Excuse me. He had no idea where the heck we were. So, next morning we get up and we bebop on down the road. And it was a very uneventful trip all the way to his mama's house. Now, pardon me. To tell you that his mother's community is a wide spot in the road is probably insulting wide spot in the road. Oh my God. This was, the name of the community was La Hacienda de Antontonilquillo. La Hacienda de Antontonilquillo. And it's just, you got the road, and all of a sudden it sort of cuts off and follows it and cuts back on. And in that little cutoff are some houses, and that's where she lived. La Hacienda, La Hacienda de Antontonilquillo. Anyway, if you get a map and look at it, even Google, you don't even see the name of it. But 2 miles down the road is San Antonio de la Presa. And it's down on the south side of Guanajuato, south of a town called Manuel de Blado. Now, to tell you how small this little community is, I was at a Mexican restaurant in Shelbyville, Tennessee, and the manager there, I was talking to the manager and I asked him where he was from. He says, I'm from Guanajuato, and that's the state, just like that's how I'm from Tennessee. So I'm from Guanajuato. I said, really? I said, where in Guanajuato? He says, about an hour from Leon. I said, anywhere near Manuel de Blado? You know Manuel de Blado? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, I live, Manuel de Blado is where my father lives. I said, really? And I said, where? I said, in town? He says, no, a couple of miles south. I said, oh. I said, really? He said, yeah, he has these fields. He's a farmer, and he's got these big fields. I said, oh. I said, you know La Hacienda de Antontonilquillo? And you could knock this guy off with a feather. He said, you've been there? I said, hasn't everybody? He said, that's my father's fields. I cannot believe you know where my father's fields are. I said, yeah. I said, I've seen them. Ain't no big deal, you know. Don't everybody go down there? Oh my God, I've had so much fun with some of these guys. Because I have visited in parts you would never ever hear of anybody visiting. So, it was enjoyable. Cutting up with him. Anyway, I think I got one of these One of the peanuts down the wrong way. So I get him home to his mama. Of course, everybody's happy, big celebration. And I felt bad for them because I knew they were embarrassed. Because right in front of their house was a ditch about 10 feet wide, 15 feet deep, and it was a sewer, and the local municipality, whatever, was working on the sewer. And at that time, everybody's house was just dumping into the ditch. I stayed there as politely as I could for about 48 hours. And then I said, well, I got to catch a bus to Mexico City. And while in Manuel de Blado, near Manuel de Blado, is when I took this young boy over to his, or they took me over to his grandfather and grandmother that I knew. And that's when that man was so appreciative. And like I said, it broke my heart. This old man, maybe 75-year-old, I'm not sure, maybe 80, had tears run down his cheeks. And he didn't speak a word of English. And all he could say was, gracias, gracias. It meant so much to him that this stranger brought his grandson home. And I was the only American that had ever been at his home. Probably the only one ever been in that town. And he was overwhelmed with emotion. God made me emotional too. And like I said, bless his heart, he passed on about 18 months later. But he got to see his grandson. But I talked to this boy's brother who was here working, and he says that he actually built a house on top of his mother's house. So if you recall me telling you about construction methods down there, they'll use the same construction method for an outhouse as they will for a warehouse. And you just keep going up, you just keep going vertical. So if they can't afford to buy land next to them, or maybe they're in a confined area, they just build up. And they use rebar and concrete and brick and mortar, and they build shit to last. What's interesting though is you can see a house that is relatively new. I say relatively new, I mean, let's say within the past 20 years. And you see one that's 300 years old. There's not much difference. They use the same construction methods for hundreds of years. And color, oh my God. I just love the Mexican use of color. You know, you can see a town sometimes, be off a distance, look at all the houses and see all the different colored homes. It's beautiful, beautiful. And you talk about doing it cheap now, them people know how to do it cheap. That's why I like them. So anyway, I spent time there, went to a fair that they had going on, and they had a band playing Norteña music, and the young people were dancing, and just out in the middle of like a field. It wasn't a field, it was like like where they'd have a rodeo or something. But was out there dancing, having a good time. I sat in the bleachers and watched them for a while. Then I found me a taco stand and a soft drink, sat there until they was ready to go home. But anyway, they took me to the bus station, and I took a bus to Leon, Guanajuato. And this bus was, I would compare this to a modernized school bus. imagine a school bus, but instead of bench seats, they're, you know, individual seats like in an airplane. But they were just like a Greyhound, but it wasn't the same level as a Greyhound. It was a little less expensive than that. Like I say, like a school bus. And then when I get to Leon, they stop in this fancy bus terminal. Mexico has got the bus system, let me tell you. Anyway, I find the bus I'm supposed to get on, and they search you for guns and knives and shit before you get on a bus. It's pretty, pretty interesting there. So don't be carrying no guns and don't be carrying no knives on you whenever you get ready to get on a bus in Mexico. Then they give you a soft drink, give you a bag of potato chips, give you a sandwich, I forget what all, as you're getting on, so you got something to eat. And some of them buses, you get up there in that real high executive class, luxury class, they actually have a stewardess on board, and just like on an airplane, where they're fixing you hot meals and cold drinks and hot beverages and stuff. That's slicker than snot. And this one even had TV and Wi-Fi and all that on it. But pretty cool. So I rode the bus from Leon to Mexico City. And a buddy of mine and his father-in-law picked me up. He took me to his father-in-law's house. Now I knew this man's daughter. I knew the boy, but his wife was still here in the United States. And his name was Mauricio. And his wife's name is Mariella, but Mariella was still here working in the United States. Then Mauricio's visa expired, so he had to get his ass back home. So anyway, Mauricio takes me over to Mariella's daddy's house because they had extra room, and this guy owned a store. Now, when we say store, we don't mean like a store downtown, a freestanding building and all that. We mean there's an opening in the wall here and you step in, there's all this stuff for sale, and he's behind the counter and gets you what you want. And I'm sitting behind the store in like a patio area, and then there's their house. So the store was physically separated by like a patio, but it was on the street right there on a sidewalk. But you could sit in the patio and see through the store to the street, so they could sit there and visit and also watch, see if somebody comes to the store. And the beer cooler was sitting here on the patio right next to me. Or was I sitting right next to it? I don't know. But the man all the time, I guess he'd been told I sure do like to eat and drink. Because all the time, you want a cerveza, Bob? You want a cerveza? No, I'm good, man. Or sometimes, yeah. And you want something to eat? Something to eat? And I said, no, I'm good, I'm good. I imagine they looked at my big fat ass and they said, that old boy needs to eat and drink all the time, look at him. But they took good care of me. But I want to tell you what, you get in that high elevation, oh my God, I was having trouble breathing. One day I was walking and also I just went down on my knees. I couldn't get my breath. Of course I was still smoking then too. But we're talking like 7,500 feet above sea level. You know, way up high. And I'm like, I'm doing the motion, but I can't feel the air going in and out. It's weird. Anyway, Mauricio took me to Ex Convento de los Leones. It was a convent, like a convent for monks. Way back when. the history of this, this country is just amazing. It's just overwhelming. You know, the pyramids and the Mayans and all that kind of stuff. And I'll tell you in the next episode about, you know, more about that kind of stuff. But I was just amazed. It really, really impressed me, the things that I got to see while I was there. So I visited with them just a few days, and I said, well, I need to get on back home. And they gave me a ride to the airport, and I hopped on a plane, and it was adios muchachos. And on my way back, I flew into Los Angeles, I think. Yes, I flew into Los Angeles, and they overbooked the flight to Nashville. So we're looking for any volunteers. We've got space available on the next flight in 2.5 hours. Anybody willing to take a delay, we'll give you $200 in vouchers. Me, please. Yes, I'll do that. I'll do that. Be happy to do that. Right here. And I'll be damned if they didn't have it again 2.5 hours later, after I'd called my wife and said, honey, don't come to the airport until 10:30 instead of 8 o'clock, wait till 10:30 to be there. I'll be darned if they weren't going to do it again, give you another $200 in vouchers, and put you in a motel in Fiji for the night. Hell, I could have stayed in LA for a night. But I done told my wife if she was made arrangements to be there at 10:30 at night. I didn't know if I could get anybody at the airport the next day or not, so I said, oh, hell with it. But I could have gotten another $200 for it. But that's all right. I ended up using that $200 plus some vouchers we still had left over. And my daughter was able to use them to fly to Miami for some kind of thing she had to do. But I tell you, if you ever get the chance to go to Mexico, especially if you have somebody to go with, it's so much fun. So much fun. I really enjoyed it. But the best adventure will be my next episode. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Folks, I appreciate so much you watching these videos. It means a lot to me to put these down in a digital format so my grandchildren can see them someday, or my kids or whoever. And it's nice to share with you. If it's not your cup of tea, I totally understand. That's why I try to warn people what they're getting into. And I believe this was episode 5, so we've got one more episode, one more trip. There was actually 6 trips I made in this series. And I don't know if I'll sum up anything in a 7th episode or not. But I'm actually leaving here in about 2 hours. Going to a Mexican buddy's house. It's a girl's 20th birthday party. It's a surprise birthday party, and I'm going to go take her a gift. They invited me and the wife, and my wife's babysitting the grandkids, so she can't go. But I'm going to go get some of that 0-calorie Mexican food and 0-calorie tequila. Y'all have a wonderful day and a better tomorrow. Adios, amigos.
Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata.